Hello everybody, the new economic system is now in place on Howrse, along with a bunch of other new features such as the new team jackpot, the new competitions, which is just that we now have competitions that will appear if there are no other player generated competitions available for you. Divine Dust, which we won't actually see that until there is a divine offer available. There's a new team jackpot. There's a bunch of stuff going on with the horse sales. You can read about all of these features in the changelog. There is a link to this in the events forum topic about the new features, and I'll also include a link to the changelog in the description. Since there are a lot of new features, and I've already talked a bit in depth about some of these already in a couple of previous videos that I've did on the new features and the Divine Dust, I'm just going to hit some of the really important points and hopefully clear up a few questions that I've seen pop up in the forums over the last 2 days. So what I am going to talk about today is the Loyal Players Pass, pass horses, where your Equus and your pass detailed summaries are, because those are kind of hidden, divines, because those now give passes if they gave diamonds before. We're going to talk about the tax again, as well as the piggy bank, and we're also going to talk about the new rookie competitions, because that's something that I'm definitely going to be giving some feedback on in the future. First things first, your Loyal Players Pass. Now, you can see all of the ways in which you can gain passes for free by going to section 1.7 of the Breeder's Manual, and that right there will tell you how many passes you now get from your Loyal Players Pass and your pass horses. But it just so happens that I have filled my Loyal Players Pass. I think I filled it like 2 or 3 days ago, but I just left it for now just so you guys can see me collect it. So what's really awesome is that you now no longer have to play a mini game to get your Loyal Players Pass. As you can see, it says, well done, you've won 100 new passes. Just go to your passes page by clicking your passes button right here and click get. That's it. There's no more. You don't have to do a mini game anymore, which I absolutely love. If you want to find your past history page, you have to click on this button right here, and it's the same for your Equus history. For some reason, it's like right here. This financial summary here is just your kind of overview page, which we've always had that before, but it used to be that the link to your detailed financial summary was down at the bottom. It's not there anymore. You have to click this button here, and then it goes to your financial summary. I don't quite like the aesthetic of this all that much. It's a lot of things I think on the game layout wise have become more streamlined so that they look kind of like the mobile version, and it's just really big. I wish it was more zoomed out so you can see a lot of it in one go. I suppose you could do that if you wanted to just hit control on your keyboard and then use your mouse wheel to zoom out, but you still can't really see much. So I don't know if they really fix that in the future. It's not a big deal, but it's just not as easy to see everything in one glance as it used to be. While we're on the subject of passes and Equus financial summaries, let's talk about how your passes and your diamonds that you had in your inventory before the update were converted. One old pass now equals 100 new passes. One old diamond now equals 10 new passes. Hopefully I said that right. So what would have happened is that they would have given you the equivalent number of passes to bring your reserve up to the amount that you should have. So if we look at my pass history page right here, I had 4 passes before this new update, which meant that I should have had a total of 400 passes from that, because 4 old passes would equal 400. What they did, instead of just multiplying that times 100, they actually added the passes to your reserve. So since my reserve should have been 400 new passes, they added 396 passes to the 4 passes that I had to bring my total up to 400. This might look kind of odd the way that they did this in your pass history, but they gave you the correct number of passes. Same for your diamonds, they did that the same way. So this is correct. It's just laid out kind of weird, but hopefully that kind of clears that up a little bit. Also, if you are seeing any of the old Equus or pass symbols, like right here, you can see all of the new pass symbols that we have. And then for my Equus history, you can see all of the new Equus symbols. If you're seeing any of the old symbols anywhere on the game, such as in your account page, where you can, because that's where you can pay passes to change your username, or if you're seeing the old symbols in the horse sales, or in your office, or on horse pages when you do lessons, or you get Equus from completing competitions, just do a control refresh of your page, or you might even have to clear your browser's cache and cookies. You can look on Google to find out how you can do that for your particular browser. So all the symbols have been changed accordingly. There shouldn't be any place where you're seeing the old symbols, because that would just be confusing. Okay, moving on to the next exciting new pass adventure are pass horses. So I do have a couple of pass horses that are ready here. Let me go to my pass farm November. I've already sent a few passes earlier this month. It was before the update, so those were converted accordingly. But I have this pass horse here. As I said, pass horses should now give you 100 new passes. This horse should be, yeah, this horse is 30 years old. So it's a horse that it's at least 30 years old. I am going to go ahead and get its health down, so it should die upon its next aging. So I'm going to age it. It's ready to be sent off to heaven. Make sure to send your pass horse to heaven. I still see a lot of questions about this often, about why they may not have gotten a pass from their pass horse. Make sure you send it to heaven. Do not sell it to Safe Haven because you won't get a pass for it. You'll just get 400 equus for that. So send it to heaven, and you should see my reserve go up by 100 passes here. And there we go, 380 passes. So there's one horse there. I'll send a couple more off. I'm kind of sad because after the update and after I had worked a couple of my divines, I had over 1,000 new passes. But then I went horse shopping and I saw a really pretty retired coat, and it was like 890 passes. So if you want to say that was the equivalent of almost 9 old passes, you can say it that way. It was a pre-CS code I hadn't seen before, and I went ahead and I bought it. So there went all of my passes. I had quite a few too. I've actually never had this many on my account before, even though it's technically 3 passes, if you want to say it that way. I'm really trying not to think of my passes as an old passes because after a while, players are not really going to remember that anyway. New players are not going to understand that once upon a time we only had passes in like the single digits. So there we go. My pass reserve went up by another 100 passes. I'm going to send just one more pass horse, even though I have a couple. I have a couple available, but you don't want to have to sit and watch me send a bunch of pass horses off to heaven today. So that one is at least 30 years old. There we go, send it to heaven, and I now have 508 passes. So your loyal pass meter, as we got to see, that still gives you 100 new passes now, and your pass horses will still give you 100 passes. And the pass horse limit has not changed. You can still keep sending horses to heaven until you get 30 passes. So if we go into section 1.7 of the Breeder's Manual, scroll down here, it says you have a 1 in 3 chance of getting a pass if you got between 1,000 and 2,999 passes this month through the system. So 3,000 passes is now the limit, okay? Because the old limit was 30 passes, times that by 100, that's 3,000. So the new pass horse limit is 3,000 passes from old horses in a single month. On to another exciting new pass venture, are divines, because divines now give you passes if they gave you diamonds before. This was the thing I was so excited about. I already entered my Jupiter in one competition. He's got 1 win already. He needs 1 more to give me passes. So his perk is that I have to win 2 competitions with him every day. When he wins 2 competitions, he'll give me now 10 passes after that second win, because he used to give me 1 diamond. So he should win that. Let me take care of him, refresh the page. That competition only 1 entry left, yeah. Okay, so it should give me my passes in just a second. Right here, you have won 10 passes. So that works. He gives me 10 passes now. Every day I will get 10 passes from him, provided I win 2 competitions. Moon, his mother, is actually how I get diamonds with him. I have to age him up, and every time he has a birthday, his mother gives me passes now. I'm sorry, that's gonna get me confused. I think she gives me, would that be 50? I think she'll give me 50 new passes. I don't really pay much attention to it. She's just sitting in another farm that I don't work because I just have to work him to get the perk. Osiris is another one who used to give me diamonds, but he probably won't give me any passes today. So I have to scratch his chest. If I'm lucky, I'll see 10 passes in this chest. He'll give me 1 of 3 gifts whenever I scratch this chest, and he'll give me the passes at least like once a week. Oh yay, he gave me passes today. So he used to give me 1 diamond when a diamond would display here, but now he gives me 10 passes instead of that 1 diamond. So there we go. I was broke before today, and now I have lots of passes. This is really exciting because these diamond giving divine horses now giving me passes are passes that I can put towards horse sales. I'm really excited about this. What other diamond divines do I have? The hippogriff will give you diamonds, but he is not close to reaching max on his meter, so there's no point in doing him. Sapphire actually gave me passes yesterday, so today he'll give me equus. I can't really show you that. Pearl, he has a chance of giving me passes, and this is our new equus UFO. I think this is kind of cute. I know a lot of people have been saying they don't like the images for the new equus and pass symbols. It doesn't bother me. I like the pass symbol. It looks like a cool gold bar, and I don't even mind the aqua symbol. If it causes less confusion for people like mixing up the symbols like they did in some of the events that we've had in the past, then I don't mind that they change the symbols at all. But this is the new Aquas UFO. And of course, it only gave me 200, but that's okay. 200 is better than nothing. So he has a chance of giving me 10 passes every time I do a mission. But of course, I didn't get passes from him today. He usually activates that perk about once or twice a week. So he's pretty generous. And I have two more. I have Zaldea, who I did end up transforming. I transformed one of my horses into Zaldea. If I can groom him twice, he'll give me 10 passes now on that second grooming. He didn't let me groom him again, so I'm not going to get my passes from him today. So as you can see here, you receive 10 passes the day he's groomed twice. I have one other Diamond Giving Divine, and that is Gypsum. He's really stingy, but hopefully he'll be nice today and not give me passes. But yeah, so that's Gypsum. And actually, I did get passes from my Venus Divine. If we look down here, because Venus will now give me 50 passes on every new moon. It was a new moon, and I did not realize that, because when I logged into my office this morning, it said that thanks to your Merit Venus, you have 150 passes. So I now have 600 new passes in my account, which is pretty nice. The next thing I wanted to talk about are the two big ones, which is the sales fee and the piggy bank. You can follow along with the piggy bank by going to trade, and then it's right down at the bottom underneath black market. To clear something up real quick, we do not have the sales fee because of the piggy bank. It's actually the other way around. The piggy bank is more of a reward system for the sales fee that are getting taken out. We have the sales fee because of the reasons Howrse stated. I think it's mentioned in the events forum topic under the main post, and it's also stated in the change log. I also talked about this in my new pass features video. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't like taxes either. Nobody really likes them, but I understand the reasoning for it as a way to combat inflation, because we now have a ton of divines on the game that are giving passes instead of diamonds, and you can use those passes in ways that you couldn't use diamonds before. Before, you could not use diamonds on Howrse sales. Those were purely a currency sink because diamonds could only be used pretty much just in the black market and to increase the skills of some divines. So those were sinking right back into the game. But now that we can use those passes to buy horses from other players, we need something to combat inflation. I do hope that eventually they'll decrease that sales fee a little bit, because for me, 10% is a bit high. I'm used to a sales fee on Flight Rising, but their sales fee isn't quite that high. So getting onto that, Howrse is not the only online game that has a sales fee. Flight Rising also has it, and it's purely to combat inflation because of all the ways they have to earn treasure. The difference is that, as I think I mentioned, their sales fee isn't that high, because if I were to list this dragon for 10,000 treasure, only 100 would get taken out. And the sales fee only applies to things being listed for treasure, not for their premium currency, which is gems. Also, Flight Rising does not have any sort of reward or promotional system that unlocks once the community has accrued X amount of fees. It's just a currency sink, and it goes poof. We don't get a reward for that pretty much. But on Howrse, we do. We have the piggy bank. Once you've unlocked these special offers, then you can buy these items for Aquas. I've seen a few comments that it would be nice if we could just get them for free, since we've already lost out on our Howrse profits because of the sales fee. I think the reason why they did not do that is that otherwise players could just get an unlimited amount of black market items, whether or not they contributed to the piggy bank from selling horses. So I think if they were to give these items for free, they would either have to make the piggy bank just a personal piggy bank based on the horses that you sell and the sales fees that you've acquired, in which case the number of items you could buy would be in relation to the amount of fees that you've accrued. Or if they kept this a community piggy bank like it is now, you would probably just have to limit up every player to X amount of black market items or something if you could get them for free. I'm not really sure. So that's probably why they do cost Aquas instead. Unfortunately, I'm one of those who just doesn't find much of a personal benefit though to the piggy bank, because I don't need to buy items from the black market via for Aquas or passes, but I don't begrudge those who will find this useful, such as the Morpheus's arms. This is actually a really good deal because I never see these in the exchanges, and when I do see them, it's probably just a fluke. Either the player doesn't know that it's worth a lot more and that players will pay more for it if they could, because the cap in the exchanges is only 300k, or they're just really in need needed some quick cash, so they just sell it while they can. But that's the piggy bank. Like I said, we don't have the sales tax because of the piggy bank. The piggy bank is just a reward system. If players don't find it a reward, I don't know, Howrse can always change this in the future. Now, for the horse sales right now, I realize that the pricing is absolutely crazy and insane. I expected this because all of the sales were canceled, meaning that if you were to try going to list a horse directly after the update, there were little to no horses in the sales to compare your prices to. So that's kind of one of the issues. Another thing is the new sales range in which you can list horses for, which is between 10 passes and 2,500, I think it is, for regular horses. So players are kind of just listing their horses for everything and anything. I think another issue is that a lot of players are converting their horse's old worth to its new worth. For example, like this one actually works here because it's 100 passes, and it's easy for me to do the math on that. One old pass became 100 new passes. For a lot of players, they're saying that if their horse was worth one old pass before, they're now going to list it at 100 new passes. The issue I see with converting like that is that in the future, people are going to forget that once upon a time we had an old pass, and then in 2018 it became 100 new passes, and new players are not going to know that at all anyway, because aside from the changelog, it's not like it's stated in the breeder's manual that, hey, one pass equals 100 new passes, because that wouldn't make sense. New players are just going to come into the game, and if they don't see the changelog at all, they're just going to say, well, I have a purebred thoroughbred with around 11,000, 12,000 GP. Oh, hey, here's another one. Looks just like my horse, priced at 100 passes. I'll list it at about 100 passes or 90 passes or whatever. Maybe they'll undercut the price. So I don't know that converting your horse's old worth to its quote new worth unquote is a really good idea, because I don't know how well that will hold, especially because you can sell horses for less than 100 passes. Like this one here, this one's listed for 20 passes. This one's listed for 15. That one's not a purebred. It just has really high GP though. But there's some horses, like this one here. This one's listed for 10 passes and it's only 4,600 GP. Unless it's a foundation, I wouldn't pay passes for it, but I'm not really interested in paying passes anyway for the newer GP foundations. If this were an original 350 GP foundation of a breed that I didn't already have, then maybe I would pay 10 passes for it, but otherwise I would just pay Equus. So something else I want to say is don't forget that the buyers control the prices as much as the sellers do. If you don't like this horse listed for 10 passes, don't buy it for 10 passes. Eventually, if a horse doesn't sell, a seller will most likely relist it and start undercutting prices to get the horse to sell. That's what I do. That is what a lot of other players do. If you're worried about looking at similar horses in the sales to see what they're listed at and you're really confused because the prices are all over the place, you can always just wait a few days until the sale settles down. I think this kind of happened when the breeders and the EC reserve merged several years ago. Players all of a sudden had a bunch more Equus in their account than they did before, so horse pricing started becoming all over the place, and then that eventually settled down. So I'm really not too concerned about this. I'm not looking at the sales and saying that, oh my gosh, all of these horses are listed for passes, therefore players are only going to list the horses for passes anymore. I just think it's way too early to say that this is how sales are going to be. There are some players who probably haven't even logged in yet, even though it's a day after the update. So there's still a lot more players that, have yet to probably come on and discover what they're going to start listing their horses for. And the last thing that I want to talk about real quick is rookie competitions, because there's now a new rookie comp limit that I'm not excited about. So if you go to section 3.3 of the Breeder's Manual, competitions, all the way down to the bottom, you'll see this. So some competitions are restricted to beginner horses only. Beginner horses or horses that have less than 20 wins. That's the same. Have no skills over 1,500. This is the same. Granted, your number will differ per server. And then this new limit that we have, which is it has no skills with a genetic potential over 2,080. This number will also differ depending on your server. So there is now a genetic potential limit. If your horse has any single genetic potential over this number here, 2,080, it it's no longer qualified for rookie competitions. Unfortunately, there was a horse I had that I was in the process of blupping that was affected by this. It was the other half of my almost finished crossbreeding project. I managed to finish this Gypsy Vanner crossbred before the update hit. Luckily, I got the wins in for that. I was really trying to get these horses their 20 wins before the update hit because I knew they would no longer be qualified for rookie comps because of their individual genetic potential. If we look at this horse here, you can't go by its skills now because after the update hit, I just went ahead and I trained it up. But before the update, this horse had less than 1,500 in each skill. So it was fine there. It had less than 20 wins. I think it still has less than 20 wins, does it? Oh, no, yay, it got all its wins in. So, but it did have less than 20 wins. It was qualified under the old rookie competition limit. However, because it has at least one skill, it has at least 3 genetic potential skills, actually. It has at least 1 genetic potential skill over 2080. And when it means genetic potential skill, it means you have to click the genetics tab. It's these individual genetic potentials here. It has at least one of those over 2080. Therefore, it was no longer qualified for rookie competitions. My preferred method, my old preferred method now of blupping my horses was to keep their skills just under rookie limit, and then I could just enter rookie competitions. I can't do that now with some of these upper level horses. So I'm going to have to go back to target training, unfortunately. This horse is an example of a target trained horse. Its top skills are speed, dressage, and jumping. So I have speed and dressage trained up. I think I have mountain rides mostly done. Nah, they're probably almost done. But I have speed and dressage trained up, and then I'm just trying to enter a lower level gallop and trot competition. So if you look at those right here, these are lower levels. I'm not going to get into the new difficulty percentage system because I'm still struggling to understand this myself. It was something I didn't really comprehend all that much on the test server, so I'll have to go back and look at this. I'm not sure how I feel about this. Maybe once I understand it, I'll be okay with it. So I don't really want to give like an actual I like it or I dislike it right now just because I don't understand it. I don't feel it would be fair to review it if I don't yet understand it. But it wasn't something I was all that concerned about because if you do want to find out what the actual skill requirement is for this competition, just click on the competition name and you can go to its page and it will tell you the skill range in which a horse can enter this particular competition. So I think that's it. That's all that I wanted to talk about. There was a lot to talk about this. Hopefully I didn't cause any sort of confusion with anything, but I wanted to clear a few things up. So if you guys have any questions, please do let me know. Let me know what you think on this. I'm really not all that concerned about some of the bigger issues, I guess, such as like the 10% tax or whatever. That will blow over after a while. It's not going to make things harder for new players because you can still earn free passes in game. I'm hoping that with the new surplus of passes coming in from players that have divines that give passes, they'll be more willing to spend on horse sales. I probably will because those are passes now that I can use on horse sales in my VIP. I have a bigger budget than what I used to. So that means that newer players might find it easier actually to sell horses for passes. I'm not sure. I mean, it's such early days yet that I just don't think it's really all that easy just to say, oh, this is terrible, or oh, this is like fantastic. Thank you guys for joining me today. Hopefully I did not confuse you anymore if you were confused before that, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.